Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange.
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Devontae Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
I hope you all enjoyed the new intro for the Wild Wild West podcast.
That was lit.
That was. Wow. I'm not gonna lie. It's a pretty sweet intro. I love the nice mix and blend.
Now,
yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Welcome to Wild Wild West podcast. I am RichiRichEh of the MHRT Network. Directly to my right is this salty pirate himself, Captain RackEm.
And I'm surprised Mundungus didn't have a chance to put my video in there, because not only was I, front row and center on TV for the Chiefs game, but there's a certain someone at about the 7-second mark for the NFL.com Saints Raiders preview. I don't know who it could be, but I'm just saying.
So you're saying you're multi-time TV famous?
Yeah, multi-time.
Yeah. That's
multi-pass.
Very humble brag.
Yeah, very humble. Yeah. I'm just informing. That's it.
Yeah. So down diagonally there to my left on screen, or right as I'm facing it here, is the one and only Alex Givens of Arrowhead Addict. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Despite that we're rolling into a Chiefs bye week, but love the new intro. Fired up to talk some AFC West, and really like that we included that Darrell Williams mossing in the Raiders game. That was a nice touch.
It will be passed along and seen by all, and I'm sure the other three of us would prefer maybe that got left out. But anyways, over to Coach. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing all right. My computer's being a turd right now, so I'm trying to get on my regular setup, but I'm here front center.
No. I've seen the comments.
Whatever you do, don't hit the red button.
Yeah, okay. Don't end broadcast.
Never forget.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. No, they like the new camera angle, Coach.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
You were certainly getting some feedback about the camera angle. It's almost like, not a bad look, right?
We're a little wild card into the show,
Yeah.
I look good from different angles, so it's all good.
That's not what she said.
That is what she said.
Yes, I did enjoy
that. Is what she said. And she says it a lot.
I don't know. I want a second opinion on that. I want to talk to her.
I'll give her a number.
Yeah, okay.
So as we move on to the recap of the week, guys, how are things for the Raiders there, Captain? How would you like to jump right in and give the audience what they really came here for, rather than talking about our significant others and what they think of us?
I was gonna say what's significant. I was like, I don't want to talk about significant others. I can talk about the chicks I take to the games, but I don't want to talk about significant others. Anyway, it was nice to have a team that I leave the stadium with now twice with a W over there. I don't know, looking up. Yeah, well, the Avatar, you're gonna have to do. DZ likes the angle. If you're gonna look up Coach's nostrils, there you go. That's just the way it is. Okay, at least he's not putting a finger in his nose like I normally do. So count yourself lucky. Anyway, okay, back to basics. It was really nice going to a game, hanging out with the crowd. I was with Singh and Hollywood. We had a couple of pictures on my Facebook. A good camera angles from like photographers and things like that on the big screen a few times. But the best thing is leaving the game. Hey, Kelly, how you doing, honey? Leaving the game, or I should say leaving my one seat to go to my other seat, knowing that we won the game, and there's still like about 5 minutes left to go in the game. And that was before we had the pick six, because I missed it. I missed the pick six. So by the time I got a chance to sit down again, and again got on national TV with a backwards headshot, not the shameless plug there as well, at the 1:11 mark of the fourth quarter for CBS.
Got it down.
At the 1:11 mark,
when they cut to the sideline cam.
Hey, whatever. Hey, I didn't even know about it, which was cool. So, but it's great when there's so much energy in that stadium after a win. Okay, and there were a lot of fans dressed as empty seats in that stadium, so it wasn't like for the Denver game. There was a lot of orange in that stadium. It was a loud crowd for the Raiders. It was a decent sized crowd for the Texans, but there was not a lot. There were a lot of empty seats in that stadium, which was surprising. But we won, and that's the good thing.
I think what we need to do with all this national exposure you're getting, we need to slap you in a whole bunch of Wild West pod gear and just send
like
you to
it.
a Raiders game, and then
I like it.
We just keep doing this anytime.
I like the way you think, Alex. You're a good man.
I'm thinking with all this humble bragness here, we got to
I like that humble braggadness. Braggadness. Yeah.
We got to capitalize on Cap's exposure here.
Capitalize.
The exposure is nothing that I've been locked up for. Let's put it that way. Let's just say that. It's not that type of exposure.
It's healthy. It's a healthy exposure.
It's a healthy exposure. That's right. But yeah, I told you I would sport the MHRT, because I'm a hat dude, as you guys know. I would sport an MHRT hat. I might even do a t-shirt if it's in the right colors.
Yeah, they got one like this with the Wild Wild West logo on it too.
I'm thinking we get them to queue up a whole pirate get-up that just says MHRT all over it. Boom. Solidify your chances. And
I am looking for sponsorship. So there you go.
I mean, I think we got something here.
I got a law firm in mind as well, Alex. For sponsorship.
I can handle that.
Kansas City area.
What is that for your indecent exposure?
Yeah. There you go. Or for I'm going to throw you onto Davante Adams's case, which is BS. And can I say something now that I did the segue right there for you? Frank Clark gets 2 game suspension, right? For what an event last year?
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
2 games for guns in his car, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Davante Adams should get about 30 seconds for the kickoff for his little push
on
a push on a punk that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Okay. And he should get 30. He should miss the opening kickoff of a game. That should be his.
Probably won't get a suspension, but maybe not. I mean, it's all about the conduct detrimental to the league, right?
But you did notice that Clark gets suspended for what? The Jags and the Texans game?
Yeah, they're really going to. At the same time, they slapped 2 players with these, 2 4-game suspensions just out of nowhere when. Deshaun Watson, like with these other more complex issues, they resolved quicker, but then the league takes it to the middle of the season to dish out these suspensions right at kind of crucial times in the schedule.
Yeah.
I think the NFL.
Not for you guys. Who else got suspended? I missed that. Two guys.
Willie Gay got suspended 4 games after week 2, starting outside linebacker. He just this last week was his first week back. So they were without him, and then Clark got the 2 games after this last one, because he had I think Willie Gay had I don't want to mischaracterize the situation, but it was some sort of domestic violence issue with like his girlfriend. I think he like threw a vacuum or something. But like I just don't understand why they took so long to dish out any sort of punishment with those 2 guys.
Yeah, it's the point being though is that it's willy-nilly, non. I don't even know the way. Give me a legal term for that, Alex.
Assault.
No. A legal term for how the NFL dishes out suspensions without rhyme or reason.
It's kind of like a dictatorship, really. I mean, I don't know. It's just like I said with the conduct detrimental to the league. They could kind of fit anything they want into that, and then dish out whatever punishment they see fit. So it's kind of a backwards process to some degree.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to shut up because I don't want to take away from anybody else. But it's BS. It's BS.
That's a good word for it.
Arbitrary. There you go, Alice Goes. Thank you. It's arbitrary.
Yeah. Great. That right in a bow right there. Fantastic.
Yep.
So, any other interesting things that you gleaned from your win last week, Captain?
That the Raiders played 4 quarters.
Okay.
They had scores in every quarter of the game. They came out slow, but they dictated things in the second half, which is not normal. And I want to see that continue as far as the 4 quarters of playing. I will say this, that the Raiders have come out twice and dictated the game twice against Kansas City and against the Cardinals. We were up 20-0 against the Cardinals. We were up 17-0 against the Chiefs, but they weren't able to sustain it. That's what I want the Raiders to do, is to dictate tempo so that people are chasing us and we can figure out what we want to do. Just don't lose it in the end. And I think that might happen. We got a tough game in Nolans this Sunday there, and it'll be great.
Well, I think we're going to talk about your Saints matchup coming up in the latter part of the show here, but that should be a relatively interesting game because there's the Saints always seem to kind of hang around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They kind of are always lingering, even if they don't look great. They always seem to at least look better than you think.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah. So, Coach, how was your game over the weekend?
Is he mad or is his nostrils flaring? I don't know.
A little bit of all of that. I'm like, can we just skip my part and get to the rest? Yeah, well, I'm sure we all know how it went, but it was a disaster on many levels. It was a disaster in the game. It was a disaster from an injury perspective. You can't glean much of anything good from that particular game against the Seahawks. And typical fashion, we start out slow and start to pick up the pace, and then J.C. Jackson goes down, and it's like sucks the air out of the whole life of the stadium and the team. Elongated injury timeout, team gathering around him. And it just seemed like the team emotionally couldn't recover from that because the Seahawks kept chugging and kept rolling, and we just couldn't keep up. That was the biggest, most glaring thing on top of the issues that we haven't resolved in the first 7 weeks that's still rearing its ugly head. Our misalignments in our defensive sets, giving up big runs, not matching personnel properly, having incorrect personnel on the field when it's heavy rundowns and things of that nature, getting gashed for multiple, multi-yard, gains, I guess you can say. 6, 7, 8 yard clips. Kenny Walker was getting on runs. Just a bad omen. Just a bad omen. And like I said, I think psychologically and emotionally, we just didn't recover from the J.C. Jackson injury because it was major and it was an ugly injury. And if anybody's played the game before or coached it, you know that, it's not all about the X's and O's and just, doing your assignment. They're humans beings too, so exactly how that emotional side of it plays into it. Because you can have you have the greatest game plan in the world, and then something detrimental happens before the game or during the game that really, takes the team's mind off of the game itself. It's hard to recover from it. So I think that was the most glaring issue. But not to be left out in the cold in regards to what happened in the game as far as the coaching is concerned. I think I spoke about this glaringly in the preseason, is that our lack of speed at wide receiver. And I think that's a very big problem when it comes down to game planning and play calling. Because, when you start slow, that pretty much, and as also I alluded to, you start slow and the run game kind of leaves the playbook in a sense, in a large space. So that particular aspect, and you're now one dimensional, you got to have some studs in the receiving core to be able to move the ball. And with Keenan Allen playing on a snap count, and he really didn't feel like himself, as he alluded to after the game, that was a problem. Mike Williams being double covered in a lot of spaces, and nobody else that's still left on the receiving core that's healthy able to get open. And everybody has the same, level of speed. So, I think I said this as well, that they typically, defensive coordinators and defensive back coaches and things of that nature are going to play you a certain way because they know that you're not going to beat them over top. So if you're going to run, nothing but, short to intermediate routes throughout the game, then I was going to play one particular cover that's going to blanket those things and you can't move the ball. So, those are the particular, I guess you can say, mistakes and problems that the Chargers are having right now offensively. Like I said, defensively is a bunch of misalignment issues and a bunch of incorrect calls when it comes down to the idea of which you are aligning yourself to when they come out in these certain sets. Like, it's almost to the point where even when I coached, in the lower levels, I had people telling me, what type of personnel they were, changing into and out of. And I know they have that in the league. So when the Seahawks come out in 12 personnel and 13 personnel, why in the hell are we not bringing our big bodies into the game and running, heavy fronts and 8-man fronts to stop these particular fronts? Because running two high safeties and running light boxes against these fronts are going to get you gashed. And that's what's gotten us gashed against the Browns and the Seahawks. So with that being said, until that gets fixed, on top of all the injuries that we've had, it's just a recipe for us to have a unsuccessful season. So
Mike Williams is out for like a month now, isn't he?
At least 4 weeks.
Yeah,
at least 4 weeks. Yeah, at least 4. So
not that I heard that announcement today, and I did the
time for Odell.
Yeah, good luck with that. And he's not even ready to play.
Yeah.
His timeline is actually probably more along the lines. His timeline is more along the lines of when Mike Williams will come back.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's ready to go right now anyway.
More along the lines of who's going to be the heavy favorite going to the playoffs. I'll sign with them.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, Coach, you brought up actually this is the second I've heard it from you. I've heard it from Bolt Bros. You're both mirroring one another in your general take on the fact that you need speed at the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question. You've now seen a few games where you're in a rough spot where you have the potential to maybe look much better than you are.
Right.
Do you believe it is worth it for you guys to put and trade, and it's really what I'm getting at, for a speedy wide receiver from another team to bolster your roster? Or do you think you're better off kind of floundering around what's likely going to end up being somewhere in the upper middle portion of the league without it, and then maybe draft someone next year instead?
Well, I mean, if it all depends on what the coaches in the front office deem the season is going to end up being. If you still want to be able to salvage the season, yes. If you just want to basically, run out there with what you have and hope for the best, then no. But yet again, the idea of what do I want to do?
Yeah, like what would like Coach is now the GM of the Chargers.
Yeah,
I got a job. Hey, I got a job. I'll be your head coach, and I'll really screw it up. I mean, I'll even be worse than Brandon Staley. Trust me.
Okay. Oh Lord. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that, Cap. So
No, you're not Staley. You're good.
But yeah, well, what I do, I would go out and get the best wide receiver I could possibly get on the market right now. I mean, and I would look at it from a long-term play. I'm looking at Elijah Moore's name in small space that's unhappy with his organization and is looking for a trade. I would kick the tires on that and see if they were willing to trade him. We're talking a 4-3 guy that will ultimately fit back into the slot once we are able to get Keenan back healthy. Hopefully, with a 2-week break, he'll be felt more like himself. So we roll out him, Josh Palmer, and Elijah Moore in the slot. I think we'll be okay with Joe Everett playing tight end. I think that's fine. But if not him, somebody of that nature that's looking to, find some different scenery that has some type of speed. Because if you look at it from last year's offense to this year's offense, you had two guys that could take the top off. The defense. Yeah, Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson. Both 4-3 guys. So having, two good possession receivers on the outside and two guys that can run 4-3 in the slot, you have to play them a certain way. But if you have all guys that run 4-5, 4-6, and 4-7s on the field, then I'm able to play more aggressively and get in your face.
Plants.
Yeah. So I'm allowed to get in your face more. Right. So I would say for sure that you have to do something different in order to make you play differently. So
do you want to sacrifice the draft capital to get someone like Elijah Moore if you're not gonna?
Well, if it was last year's draft, no, because last year's draft had a lot of quality receivers in it.
Yeah.
But this year is not the same.
True. Yeah.
The level of receivers coming out in next year's draft, it wouldn't be the same. So you're basically getting a guy that you prefer in the league that's proven, or what their skill set is in the league versus the guy that has potential. So yes, I would go out and get a guy like that if I had to risk a second round, a third round, or whatever. That's going to be the cost for him. I mean, Elijah was drafted in the second, so I wouldn't believe the Jets would demand a first for him anyway.
I imagine it'd be like a two pick kind of deal or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you would say like a pick in this round and this draft and next draft, something like a second this year, third next year, or something like that, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's still on his rookie deal. He still has 3 years left on his rookie deal, so he's cheap. He's a second-round pick, so he's not garnering first-round money. He's making about $1.5 million a year, so it's not a punitive cap hit either.
Yeah, true.
So I would.
You're also saving because you're not drafting guys at those 2 picks that you have given away.
True.
So you almost have I want to call it a net gain, but you're actually saving money almost because the draft picks at their given positions are fixed, right? Like like you come in with the fixed salaries, so all of a sudden you're kind of almost looking at that as a bit of a cap savings for yourself to ensure that you've kind of balanced those books a little bit. And I agree with you, a guaranteed commodity at a position that you need is not a bad way to look at the draft and look at that draft capital, because you then have to look at what you'd get with those 2 picks, and a known commodity at the NFL level is a bird in hand at that point.
Indeed. So I would do it, and like I said, you need that person that can stretch the field, right. Because having the same thing over and over again, I'm going to play you aggressively, get in your face, not worry about you beating me over the top, in a sense, almost, to the point where I can put even more pressure on Justin Herbert with a makeshift, well, I won't call it a makeshift line, but a revamped line. So, that allows me to play more aggressively, and I can affect your gameplay and your game plan based upon how, what you would like to do. And I kind of force you into what I want you to do. So I would say that that's something they need to address. Will they do that between now and the first? I don't know, but I would like them to. And it doesn't matter what they want for.
Second, I had my mic on. That's because I coughed earlier. I didn't want to do it. A bird in the hand is worth 2 Reggie Bushes, or something like that. I know.
That seems right.
Yeah, about right. Yeah, we'll let you slide with that.
Give or take. Yeah, we're good. So, Alex, how was what kind of recap do you want to give over your game? What do you think? How'd it go? What did you want to see? What would you like to see them change? Let's go.
Yeah. Well, first I'd like to preface that I'm blanking on who we had last week that started off his keys to the 49ers was prayer, and then the next day they get Christian McCaffrey. It's like, man, I guess that did work.
Yeah, prayer does work.
But, I knew that going into it, he wasn't going to be like the same factor he'll be even this upcoming week or 2-3 weeks down the road. I mean, it was pretty – watching it, you could see they used pretty basic – just running like, hey, we're going to toss it to you left, see what you can do. I mean, he still was effective. I think the first play of the game, he rushed for like 15 yards, and I was like, damn it, here we go. But, I mean, overall, the Chiefs played pretty well, pretty complete football game. They have seemed to develop this routine, if you will, to start the game behind a decent amount and then somehow just erase the deficit super fast. I mean, it went down 10 points pretty much right up into the end of the first quarter and then come back and score a quick touchdown. There we go. We got him. Nice. He's back. I don't know who that other guy was we had on, but
he was a faker, man. It was like I had to look up his nose.
like this.
So nosy.
Yes, indeed. We're back in the building. We're good to go.
So nosy. It's ridiculous.
Man.
Yeah.
Totally different vibe. But yeah, no, I mean, overall it was a great Chiefs game. They won 44-23, so pretty significant win. Pretty much played out like I thought, to where if they made it to where Jimmy G had to win with his arm, the mistakes are going to start coming. And I mean, it helped too that the 49ers were so banged up, but they did have Bosa play. I mean, and Kittle went off pretty good, but for the most part, they contained Debo pretty well. The running game was somewhat a non-factor. So just overall, great Chiefs game. Kind of sucks to have a bye this week, but it'll be nice to recoup and see what sort of trades they make, because there's a million different rumors out there. Link to them right now. See if they make a big splash. I think it's pretty apparent up to this point that they need a better pass rusher, especially with Frank Clark being suspended for 2 games. But even with Frank Clark, that was a very glaring need.
Against the Jags and the Texans, I could play for you guys against the Jags and the Texans. And
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and remember, and I got you guys might not know, but I still got the cane. And I'll bring my cane on the field and I'll still get production. Trust me. You don't need them against the Texans. No.
Lordy. Lordy.
Well, just to correct you, they got the Titans and the Jags.
Okay, it was a T. It was a T. Okay, it was.
I'd like to see you try to tackle Derrick Henry. That'd be some prime entertainment.
No, I would tackle Derrick Henry.
That'd be like those old Kimbo slides.
Then when he rolls me over, then the lawsuit would come in, and that's where I have you as my Jew lawyer. Okay, there you go.
Yeesh.
There we go. All right.
I want to quickly speak to this holiday. First off, a newer name. Thank you for jumping in. We always like seeing.
See me at the Holiday Inn.
Yes, indeed.
There's a song in there somewhere. Was that from a movie? Because it wouldn't be a show without a movie
man.
reference. There we go. So, holiday. This is an interesting one. So I'm going to simply point to what happened last year. The Denver Broncos. We traded Von Miller, and the Rams won a Super Bowl. If we need recency bias, I'd say that's about as close as you're going to get to a successful midseason trade. I also think there's been other teams that have made additional midseason trades as well. There's a bunch of comments in there about some Raiders trade. Yeah, there we go. There's another one there. But there's been plenty of midseason trades that have worked out. Now, at the same time, there's been a ton that have not.
Oh yeah,
right. But at the end of the day, if you're a contender, so if you're in our division, if you're the Chiefs, for example, if you're the Buffalo Bills, if you're in any one of those kind of top tier teams, then yeah, you trade for someone. You need to trade for someone. And frankly, another team that I'm hearing a lot of rumors just because of the Denver Broncos not looking very good is Green Bay. There's been multiple kind of articles and links and connections where Green Bay is trying to make a hard push for Jerry Jeudy.
I thought you were going to tell me they're going to trade Aaron Rodgers to you guys for Russ.
Well, that's what we wanted in the first place.
Yeah, right.
That's who I wanted. Yes, you're correct.
Well, I mean, I think that's why they hired Hackett in the first place was
right
for Rodgers, and that didn't work.
Right. So my point is that if you're a team that is either underperforming and you believe you're one or two players away, then you trade for a specific player, or if you're a contender that needs, a couple players or a player, then yeah, you trade for a midseason pick. And frankly,
the value is for
done
Jeudy?
well. What
do you think the trade value is for Jeudy?
Ham sandwich and some chips, right?
I mean,
I actually think it's more than you think.
Ham sandwich and chips.
It's not going to be a first rounder, right?
I don't know. I think he's probably going to be. I think if we're going to be honest, Peyton would probably value getting 2 picks with the upper pick being kind of in the 4th or 5th round, as opposed to getting like a 3rd round.
You got to pay him. Is he expiring contract this year?
He's on an expiring contract at the back end of his rookie deal, so he has another year plus a 5th round option.
Hey, watch that back end talk.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a family show.
Well, the 5th round option would be a 1st round value, though, right? So, I mean, what's that? Be like $12 million or something?
Yeah. But you have to remember he's having one of his better seasons this year. He's dropped the ball fewer times than he has in the past. But the problem is
also like a top 10 pick, though.
15.
Okay, top 15 pick in the 1st round, and his value 3 years after the fact is a 4.
Yeah, but I've heard a lot of people make that kind of comment, and I think you're always going to find a coach in the league who thinks that they can do better. And they think that they can turn him around. And because there's so many egos in the NFL that, in my opinion, I think you're going to end up with some coach or some team that's going to probably take a flyer and go like a 4th and maybe a 7th or something like that for Jeudy, or maybe a 4th, maybe like we get a 4th. We send another kind of extra player or something like that from like the practice squad or whatever the case may be. And then maybe there's like a 5th or a 6th thrown in as a result of kind of like balancing the values. I could see something like that as well. But in my opinion, I think it's a 4th and maybe a 7th, generally speaking, in terms of value for Jeudy, or even just a 4th.
Yeah. I wouldn't get my hopes up, though, because I had the same used car salesman pitch about Jerry Tillery, and we still have him. So, and he was the last year of his rookie deal. So, yeah, good luck.
Because I just think it's the expiring contract that's really going to diminish the value of it, because whoever's getting them, if he does do well, then they can exercise this option, but it's a much more substantial hit than what they would be getting with a 4th or 5th round pick. So I think that's gonna. But I could totally see him going somewhere else and being good.
Sure,
it's certainly happened for other people, and some receivers too. I just feel like don't mesh with certain schemes. So but you're not wrong in that there's always someone. Was it one man's trash, another man's treasure, right? So there's always some team that's going to think they can tap into the internal football glory that this person had. Look at Carson Wentz still bouncing around, and Josh Rosen was out of the league, but somehow some team was always trading for him.
Jacob is on the way. Don't worry, I got something for that. Okay, I appreciate you. Yeah. Stick around. Let all your friends know that we're going live. It's coming. So,
very good.
Just because I think that's. I do think that in fairness, the Broncos are going to have a lot of pieces start to get traded away. We don't have a 1st or 2nd round pick. It's clear that we need the help. I think one way or another, we're going to be trading players come the deadline.
I agree with BZ, though. I think if you want to recoup something like that, you got to get rid of Chubb.
Oh, he's atop the Broncos rumor mill. But I want to just kind of go back to Jerry Jeudy for a moment. So just based on the way that Jeudy runs the ball, or runs and does his thing, he is far more aligned with a quarterback, someone like a Patrick Mahomes, an Aaron Rodgers, even a Tom Brady. Actually, if we're going to be perfectly honest, guys that are strategic. I know he's part of the fake Pirates, Captain, but yeah, it is what it is. Look, you have to give a guy his due for what he can actually, play. He might be an old man, but nonetheless, he is accurate with the ball, and he's known for route timing or timing of his routes in terms of placement of the football, like mid stride. That's his bread and butter. And a guy like Jerry Jeudy, that's what he is suited for, is shifty routes and kind of being, in a spot at a time or whatever the case may be. And so my opinion, a guy like Russell Wilson, who scrambles a lot, is probably not the best option for Jerry Jeudy, whereas someone like those other quarterbacks I mentioned, I think, are just better fits.
But you said scrambles a lot, and you just mentioned Mahomes.
Yeah, but Mahomes doesn't do it all the time. He only scrambles when he needs to.
Which sometimes is all
the
the
time.
Sometimes it's all the time. But at the same time, Mahomes will let his receiver go and say, just keep running and I'll get it to you. Right. And that's not an uncommon route pattern, if you will, for Mahomes. Where I'm really getting at as well is I think Jeudy needs someone that he basically respects and will listen to 100%. And right now, through his tenure in the NFL, because of his draft pedigree, he hasn't had a quarterback to kind of put him in his place and say, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion for what it's worth, and what I think we need to.
It'll be interesting to see what teams decide. Like I've seen a lot of Jacksonville talk about selling a lot of their pieces, which they already kind of did with Robinson. But it's always going to be interesting. Yeah,
that's exactly it. That's the problem. That's what my point was. It's ridiculous.
He doesn't even need to be feet on the ground to throw an accurate pass. So I'd like to see Russ
or be looking at the receiver either, for that matter.
Yeah,
the boys now,
or even have to do it with his dominant hand for that.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately,
the fact that all three of those are true is kind of astounding.
Yeah, I heard of something about Tom Brady mentioning the idea that he didn't like the way Mahomes played football. And how he's not a prototypical platform thrower. And I'm like, well, he's getting it done.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you don't like
Tom Brady had to make a career out of knowing the exact time his receiver makes a cut so he could throw it to where only it hits him right when he makes his cut. And he's jealous that Mahomes doesn't have to do that.
Dang.
No, I'm kidding. But there's different. It's just different play style.
Yeah, that's it. Just because you don't do the traditional way doesn't mean it doesn't work.
They hate me because they ain't me.
Yeah. And then there's that.
Hate us because they ain't us, right?
Peanut butter and jealous.
So I'm gonna roll into the Broncos game quickly so we can get on to the week ahead, because although this is going to be an interesting week ahead, we have coaches redemption week to let last week be forgotten, and we also have the Chiefs on the bye as well. So
notice bite Mahomes. I think it's bite Mahomes, Biggie. But I'm reading through it. You got to have. He's on his phone, and the spell check really screwed him on that, Biggie. So yeah. The bike my homes should be bike my homes.
Back to bike my homes.
Yeah,
his butt.
Yeah, bike my homes in his butt.
Catches.
Yeah, it's got to be spell check. It's cool. I was getting what you were saying.
I think we get Mahomes later into his career. You see him not do that stuff, and then he becomes Tom Brady.
I can see Mahomes turning into a bit of a Roethlisberger at the back end of his career.
See, there's that back end talk again.
I know we're going right into the gutter, man. Like right into the gutter.
That's why I'm on this show, baby.
Well, back is better than back door, so I'll let it slide. No pun intended.
I think we're going to see Mahomes kind of look more like Roethlisberger did because he just won't be able to scramble. See, Roethlisberger kind of shimmied in the pocket, but then he was throwing guys off of him.
Dude just looked so unathletic, but somehow could never go down.
Oh, it was remarkable.
Like, he's not moving fast. How was he running past you?
Well, even Mahomes doesn't look like he actually moves quickly, but yet he always seems to get away, right? So that's why I kind of put the two guys on the same. I kind of put Mahomes and Roethlisberger in the same kind of deal, right?
Right.
Somehow doesn't get touched.
Somehow.
So, anyways, moving on to the Broncos game. Wow, that was not great. But when we saw what the Broncos could have done, it's unfortunate. We had a reasonable kind of foray into the game. We did see Brett do some things that Wilson has struggled with. Brett spread the ball around a little bit. He started throwing into the middle of the field a little bit more than what Russ does because Russ doesn't do it at all. So, anything is better than nothing. But by and large, what this past game did do for me was answer the question that I had kind of going into the game, which was, I know what Brett Rippon can do, and Brett Rippon is a cerebral quarterback. He does not have the same X factor that, say, a guy like Russell Wilson does. But Brett can read coverages with the best of them. He's very, 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 very bright. So looking at what I saw there, if Brett wasn't able to overcome the way that some of these schemed items are there, then I don't think anyone will. And so I have recalibrated kind of where I'm kind of putting the onus on. No, that's not
better than anus.
That's not anus, Capt. See, I jumped in before you could, if you noticed. Like
No.
It's almost like we've done the show before, right?
You knew I was coming there, baby.
What's Russ, like 5'11", Rippin 6'2"?
Well, Russ is 5'11" with heels.
Yeah, with cleats on.
With heels.
With heels, huh? Yeah.
That's what his roster is. You always got to check the program. You check the program, and then you take 3 inches off of that.
Yeah. No. Coach, clear heels is only in the bedroom with
5'11" on the program.
So no clear heels. Okay, I got it. Check.
Yeah, clear heels is only in the bedroom with Sierra. That's their thing, man.
I'll do that.
But, did you see that?
Pardon
me? He had like this whole interview. I think it was with like the Pardon My Take guy or something, where he talked about how he uses his diet or creates his diet to where his body doesn't create waste as much, so he can be as productive as possible. It's like kind of ties into the interview reference earlier. Like he doesn't have to waste time to poo. He doesn't have a butthole.
Where are we going with this?
I was continuing the rear end stuff.
We've taken a turn.
You had to do it while I was typing information, you butthole.
We've gone off the 95.
That was very loose butthole to me. Sorry.
So the height difference between Brett Rippon and Russell Wilson is 3 inches.
Yeah, that's what Sierra said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we went there, man. We went there. So, anyways,
did your boy Cushenberry play center?
Sadly, so it's the problem I really have with this game is that it really recalibrated. I'm starting to come around to some of the folks that have said that there's a good portion of the issues that are as a result of the offensive scheme. And I'm tending to agree. We're not seeing quick passes. We're not seeing.
I had to, man. It was there.
No, well, look what Holiday Lights VA put. Look what he put.
What VA?
Holiday Lights VA. Look what he put.
Oh, okay. Well, he is a sailor. So he is a sailor. And he's a Bronco fan. I'm just saying. He's a sailor and a Bronco fan, and a good friend of mine. So right there.
This is prime.
Oh, that was great.
Man.
That section of the show
3 inches is like that, right?
and it needs to be, republished. That is fantastic.
Redact this from the show.
Yeah, no, it needs to be shared. That's just too funny.
Oh, true. Indeed.
But I believe the Broncos offense is missing the quick passes. We're missing the timed route. So you're seeing a lot of the really successful offenses run quick plays to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands and get 2, 3, and 4 yards. Like a 4-yard gain on an offensive play ain't bad. And the Broncos don't really have plays that are churning that type of yardage in a quick fashion. The other thing we're not seeing is a hurry up offense at all. It's kind of this like slow, kind of fumbling, bumbling style of offense, which is just never going to work. And we're also not seeing the team willing to make the needed changes, both in game or just in player personnel, to start mixing things up to see if we can, put a better product on the field.
Oh man, I told you. And we on the back roads and we not leaving.
No comment.
We veered on the beaten path and
we turned this into a this is the Wild West Plus show.
It really is.
We have now entered the back of the saloon, folks. We've entered the back of the saloon, and
there's that backup again.
Into the After Dark special here. Right?
There you go. Wild Wild West After Dark. OnlyFans free until 11.
And then check out our OnlyFans page. There you go.
OnlyFans free until 11.
That's right. Get a preview.
There you go.
Right, and this is Holiday. You've literally kind of hit the nail on the head, so to speak here, and it's 100%. You can't win games if you're not scoring points in the second half of the game. Dare I say the back end of the game. And
we're back, baby. Right back into it.
Oh, man. All 60 seconds. 60 second commercial, we're right back to the debauchery.
You thought we were done with the butt stuff? We're back.
Oh, get a defib, baby. Get a defib. I'll be like Fred Sanford. There's the big one, Elizabeth. I'm coming to see you, baby.
Oh,
Chris Farley. I'm having a heart attack.
Oh man.
So,
you guys aren't sharing this up. You are wrong.
You are
wrong. Share this up wherever
You're
it is.
missing it.
Share it up. Hello.
I think that needs to be put in the intro. We need to tie some of this content.
You're right. Exactly. Oh man.
So what you're saying, Alex, is part of the intro needs to be, this is Hump Day.
Yep.
Right. We always broadcast on Wednesday. That's a good one.
That's true.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
If you ain't humping with us, you're wrong, baby.
And the outro is going to be keep on humping. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Man, oh man.
If it was monetized, we might get charged with like sexual comments and some other things like that. So you're right. No, it's not monetized, but
who knows?
It's but hey, we do appreciate you all being here. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we get into the week ahead, which we will jump into in just a moment, what really does help all of our channels out is if you go ahead, like and subscribe. What that helps us do is grow our audience and get other fans just like you to join the show and comment and laugh at all of the corny jokes and everything else and all those good things.
All of these are.
The ultimate
you feel comfortable?
I can see it now.
Comfortable podcast environment.
Can you come into my office?
And Brian, if you would like to leave a comment for HR, you can leave so in the comment section down below each of our videos. HR may or may not get in touch with you, and you may or may not like the reply either. But hey, you can go ahead.
Captain HR?
Best efforts.
I thought Cap was HR, head of HR. Is he not?
Oh,
Yeah, that's why we're F, man. That's why we are F.
Direct all HR inquiries above.
right.
Yeah.
Forward them all a Cap.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll get my Jew lawyer on it too. That'll be good.
See?
Alfredo, all the links for all of our channels and everything are directly below the video you're watching right now, regardless of the channel you're on. So
Yep. Check it out.
find us all on there. MHRT Network has some great stuff. Coach just had his pod yesterday there with Coach Kurt. Tell Kurt that I was a little late yesterday, so I didn't get into my groove. He will be appropriately harassed next week. He can prepare himself for that.
I will let him know.
You can forewarn him ahead of time.
I did last week. So I got to do it again this week.
Yeah, and Captain always has some great content on his shows with Captain and Wenches, if I'm not mistaken, was yesterday. Captain.
New name. Because HR did put a stop to that one. It's Silver and Black Ladies Night. Silver and Black Ladies Night. They're still my wenches, but we just don't broadcast it as such. Silver and Black Ladies Night presented by Captain Jack.
For that?
Huh?
Right. So
Just call it
Captain, we're going to have some discussions about you're a pirate.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a given.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this for everybody. Okay, the ladies on my show, Peggy and Heidi and Angria, when she was on, but before she had issues, they all went for if we're gonna be the ladies with Captain, we're his wenches. All of them, all three of them said, yeah, we're gonna go for that. It was other ladies that didn't appreciate that. So because they didn't appreciate that,
name figured out.
Callahan's all over it. Callahan's all over it.
Yeah, Captain in his booty, baby. There you go. Hey. But yeah, so we did change the name to keep it a little bit more PC for the audience that Peggy and Heidi and were wanting to pick up. It's still a great show. And we have, great topics and great people on. And it was great. Boy, I sound like a friggin' broken record, but no, it was fantastic for the content, and we love for everybody to come on. It's every other Tuesday because Chronicles is on the other Tuesday. So we got two.
I still like Captain and his booty. You need to change the name to that.
Yeah, well, that would be the After Hours show, and that might be with different girls.
That's a DVD special.
Speaking of which, did you see my show on Sunday?
I did not catch Sunday. I was not around.
If you want to see some content that HR would be all over my ass for, go to the show on Sunday and go about halfway into it.
Preface preview here.
No, I'm serious. Go about halfway into the show. You will see double cannons on each side, man. Double cannons right next to the captain, and
we're not talking about machinery, are we?
No. Not at all.
Speed or for comfort?
There you go. Speed or comfort. There you go. There you go. Cap owns a motorboat.
Just saying, Sunday show, go see it about halfway through.
Can we I got the Chronicles? Because the Chronicles of the Black Hole, in lieu of what we're talking about here on the show today, it seems off as well. Chronicles of the Black Hole. I mean, Black Hole, Butthole. I don't know. Chronicles of the Black Hole.
Well,
that's a little,
okay.
That's a little entry too. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah, Tito said it. He said Captain was blushing. I think I kind of was.
Yeah. Those rosy Santa cheeks was popping.
I'm pulling this up. I'm looking.
Oh yeah. There you go.
So, moving on to next week, let's just quickly throw over to Alex. Okay, so we're done. Seriously, no. Are there any injuries that you're expecting to likely kind of recoup from or anything like that for the bye week for you?
I mean, they will get Trent McDuffie back and probably Fitton. So they should come into playing the Titans with at least a fully recovered secondary, which will be nice. And McDuffie hadn't played since week 1 with the hamstring. So those are really the only two. And then obviously the Frank Clark injury, he will.
Is that an injury or suspension?
Or suspension. Sorry, I was on
vacation.
Yeah. It's vacation that was required.
Unpaid.
Required leave. That'll kind of put an impact on.
He had use or lose, so he had to go away for 2 weeks.
Yeah, he had to use it into the fiscal year. He had to use that time.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, you can't knock him for that.
Can't knock him.
But yeah, I mean, that's really the biggest news in terms of who's on the roster now. As I kind of prefaced to earlier, there are a plethora of rumors out there.
Do you want to go into some of those? Because I think that might be some interesting content as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
and sorry, just quickly interject. This would actually be a perfect time for you to trade for someone, given the fact that you have the extra week to bring them in, bring them up to speed, and that sort of thing. So, where are you at with that? Who do you think might come in? Who would you want to come in? And let's go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've said it before. I've said it to actually Jacob in there commenting. The only one I want is Brian Burns. I don't care what they have to do to make that happen. I've heard it might be 2 firsts, but that's the kind of player I would give that up for, especially that to me is their biggest need in a solidified pass rusher, and that is most definitely what Brian Burns is. And then maybe they could get rid of Frank Clark. That's the one component that sucks with it. It's because many people, I mean, granted, this is Chiefs Twitter basically, but we're kind of projecting like 2 picks in Frank Clark for Burns.
Did you say you're getting Frank Burns, the doctor from MASH?
Fred Burns. Yep.
No, Frank Burns.
He's too young for that, Cap. He doesn't know that.
Yeah, what's MASH?
Exactly.
MASH was a great show.
It was, but he's too young to remember that.
I wasn't even alive when that thing was on the airways, man.
My point. My point.
So yeah, but anyways, back to the Chiefs' potential trades. Burns has been the biggest one. There's obviously been a bunch of rumors of Odell signing with the Chiefs.
Right.
They've been tied to rumors of potentially trading for Brandon Cooks. But I feel like those are kind of more of the trade deadline rumors that always come up on like what sexy weapon can the Chiefs trade for that'll put them over the top. But to me, that's not what they need. They're clearly effectively spreading the ball around. Juju's on pace to put up some pretty good numbers. Every week I've said that you could tell Mahomes and Hardman are meshing better. And I think that here soon you're going to see them hit on some of these pretty deep cross the field routes.
I picked them up on fantasy. I need it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had the 3 touchdowns this last week. Granted, but that was like a jet sweep and short kind of
2 jet
passes.
sweeps.
But you clearly see that they're making it more of a point to get him the ball, like they did with Tyreek early on. And then not saying he'll turn into Tyreek, but he has game-changing speed, and that's the type of player you need to script to at least get 10 touches and let them just get the ball in open space and see what they do. But to me, getting a receiver is not really something that the Chiefs need to do. I would say a pass rusher or maybe another corner, just given kind of the inability of a lot of guys and inconsistency on who's available. The other big one that's kind of been rumored, and who knows how much of this is actually true, but there are talks of them potentially acquiring Cam Jordan from the Saints as well. And that at least I've read more stuff that makes it seem like those talks have been legit to some degree. And I think that the Saints are the type of team that are currently postured to want to make a move like that with not a lot of cap space. They're right there, but they're not like as successful as they thought they were. They traded their 1st round pick to get that Trevor Penning, who doesn't even look like he's going to be a successful NFL tackle. So I think they would clearly need
that, by the way, because they were saying the Chargers want to get him, and I didn't want him at all. But I'm just thinking of him. So.
I saw watching him in the Senior Bowl. I knew he wasn't going to be good.
He's a train wreck.
Everyone was like, look at his one-on-one highlights, and I was like, dude, all he does is just wait for like the finishing move that is a penalty in a game. I was like, look how he opens his hips. He's going to get blown up.
Exactly. You know what his problem is? He's basically playing football like a wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And he was a wrestler, if I'm not mistaken, and he was a darn good one at that. But the problem is that he in wrestling you can get away with things like that, especially if you're just that darn big and that strong, which he is both, by the way. Like, make no mistake, the dude's a tank. The dude's just mammoth.
The thing to me though is like if you're taking a tackle from the Division I AA level, they need to be like technically sound. That's the only way you could measure if they would be successful, because they obviously haven't gone against the same type of talent that a tackle at Florida would be going against. And watching his Senior Bowl stuff, you could just tell it he wasn't technically sound from an offensive line perspective. Like, didn't use his hands, just opened his hips, and you could tell that like he made it a really bad habit because he got away with it at lower levels. He wasn't playing 6'5", 280-pound defensive ends to run a 4.4. He was playing, sloppy 6'3", probably still 280, but didn't look the same.
Did he say sloppy seconds?
No, sloppy 280.
Oh,
Coach
okay.
What I mean.
That could be worse, just depending on how you read into it. But
it is. Sloppy 280 is not good.
No,
no, no, it's not. But it's just funny. Like you see pictures of Evan Neal, the tackle on the Giants, who weighs I think he weighs like 330. But you look at him and you're like, and that is like very much 98% muscle or something, like, because he does not look like he would weigh 330.
He's muscle and he's agile.
But then you take someone who weighs 330 from North Dakota State. They're going to have like a stomach. They're going to
tree stump. Yeah, exactly.
But just as long as it's sloppy, right?
Oh Lord,
there it is.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, I mean, if any, I think you see them make a move, especially given them clearing up the cap space by restructuring Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly.
I truly think that the emphasis or the reason they did that was for a pass rusher. So I kind of don't really give a whole lot of weight to these rumors of offensive weapons. So to me, if they could get a Cam Jordan or Brian Burns, I don't know how realistic Burns would be, but that's a move I definitely think they should make. They were linking him to Robert Quinn, but to me that just didn't seem worth it.
That's done now too. He's an Eagle now, so
for a 4th rounder. But I think he has a pretty
hard rock, dude. It's hard rock. Okay, my goodness. Okay, it's a hard rock.
Okay, Cap's fighting people in the chat again. All right.
What's going on? Are you a Yankee fan, man?
No. I'm a Phillies fan, dude. My team made it to the World Series.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, at least the Cards choked against the World Series squad. I could sleep
with that
now.
Yeah, and I'm noticing the trend when it comes to trades now, because I thought that the Chris McCaffrey trade, the Robert Quinn trade, all these trades of the guys with heavy contracts would be impossible with guys with no cap space. But the new trend is with guys on the last year of their deal, they're taking on, the old team is taking on most of their salary. So the Eagles only playing $770K for his services for a whole year.
Yeah. Well, the 49ers agreed to eat all of his money, didn't they? And have like no draft picks.
Well, that's the funny thing, because they front loaded his they backloaded his deal, actually, because his first year of his deal was $1 million against the cap. It was only $1 million cap hit. It was all rest of it was guaranteed money. So the Panthers ate the guaranteed money in the first year. Now it's $11 million next year and a year after that. So they're going to eat $11 million starting next year. But again, Trey Lance, they're going to free up their money with Jimmy G, and Trey Lance is on a rookie deal, so they can still get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy. When I saw that and like what they gave up, and then you go look at like the draft picks they have now, you're just like, man,
they chestnut checkers.
Just for an injury-prone guy. I mean, he's obviously a game changer, but that's a lot to give up for an uncertain future.
No, I disagree with that. The one thing you have to remember.
You're talking about Christian McCaffrey. I thought you were still talking about Quinn. My bad.
No, I'm talking about. I know you're talking about Christian McCaffrey. The one thing you have to remember is that on a team where he's going to be a secondary piece, he's not going to be leveraged.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you caught that, did you? There you go. Yeah, you caught that. Yeah, I was going for the.
Side
Yeah, I'm glad someone. Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Side piece.
So, as as you know, in the NFL, when you're not the primary receiver, when you're not the primary running back, or any of that sort of stuff, he's not going to get the same carries as he would have in Carolina. And the problem with Carolina is the offense ran through Christian McCaffrey. If he was not on the field, they had nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I do get your point there. But at the same time, you're not going to give up all that draft capital to not make him a huge emphasis of your offense. But
I never said he wasn't going to be a huge emphasis. I just said he wasn't going to be the only piece of offense they had.
Well, I mean, they're turning out 6th-round picks and making them 1,000-yard rushers in San Francisco. So that's not. I mean, you know,
they're still going to use Jeff Wilson. I mean, they'll still
Elijah Mitchell when he comes back and all the good stuff.
I mean, those guys and they did that anyways. Even when they had, I don't even know who else it, but I mean, when Carlos Hyde was a 1,000-yard rusher for him, they still gave several touches to other guys behind him, Coleman and you know, so they've always made it an effort to run the ball and run through multiple people. But I mean, it's just the biggest thing for me is that's a lot to give up for someone who gets hurt like almost every year. And maybe he won't get hurt, not being as overworked. But
yeah, that's possible. But I feel like they've run every running back they have into the ground, no matter who it is.
Yeah, I think literally every running back with San Fran's gotten hurt in some way or another.
Right.
Yeah. So wanting to make sure we can kind of fit all the things into the show, Coach, same general questions to you. We kind of hinted at some of those sorts of things with the wide receiver trader a little bit early in the show. For those of you who joined us a little late, hit the little rewind button there wherever you're. I didn't say go back, Captain. See what I did there? I try to keep it clean.
So the gaslighting Cap over there.
Yeah. And
lean back. Lean back.
There it is.
So we covered the wide receiver position for the Chargers a little bit earlier in the podcast here.
Yep.
But do you think that the Chargers may want to make a push for any changes? And the other thing that I have heard some rumors about in for the Chargers is wanting to just simply get rid of your offensive coordinator.
Well, yeah, very much so. Very much so. People are very frustrated. I mean, to the point where I love Chargers Twitter in certain regards because they dig up all kinds of dirt. Like they dug up an old article about how he got fired from Detroit. Because, you know, he went from New Orleans to Detroit to the Chargers, right? So they were saying that, what was the reason or the mediocrity of his play calling, was subject to this idea that why he got released from Detroit. And, and people harping on the idea, well, if you get cut from Detroit, then you should be out of the league, period, because you can't make it work in Detroit.
That's like you already hit the bottom, so now what?
That's like the bottom of the barrel there.
Right, exactly. So you hitting those back alleys like we've been hitting all show.
Boom, back.
So
I was there, baby. I was on it.
Yeah, good job, Cap. Good job.
More ways than one.
So yeah, I mean, it's weird in a sense because his numbers holistically are very good. Like he had a top 5 offense last year in all of football. So
holistically,
yeah. Damn it. You're on fire tonight, by the way. Why is it blurred? What is going on? What are you showing?
I found it.
Look at this band. It got blurred.
Oh.
What are you doing over there? Blurred content.
I found the melons. I don't know why it's blurring out.
It's probably good.
The double cannons?
It's explicit content.
Right.
Are you checking out the double cannons from last Sunday?
We'll have the parent advisory tag on the show from now on, Rich. Just tell Mad Dog we need a parental advisory, explicit lyrics, meter on our show from now on. Just let you know. But yeah, overall, man, I think wide receiver is the biggest and most glaring thing. I mean, if a solid corner came on the market, although I do like the idea, and I was talking to Bo Bros about this as well, I do like the idea of kicking the tires on Jaseel Taylor. I think that Staley likes him. I think that he thinks he thinks highly of him and giving him a shot to play some secondary because I'm not high on Mike Davis. And I think that's really part of the reason why they went out and got J.C. Jackson to pay that money, because they didn't have any faith in Mike Davis being the outside number 1 and number 2 corner for us. So, a corner maybe, maybe another interior D lineman. We can, kind of throw Jerry Tillery to the side. Somebody with just somebody with some dog in them inside that just wants to disrupt O lineman's rhythm. That's all I really want. Because I see that out of Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson in spaces, but it's not every down. And on top of the fact that guys you bring in to be pass rushers, you put him in on early rundowns and they're getting destroyed in the run game.
I've had Fehoko before, and it's never mind.
I thought Brian was HR. I mean, what's with this language?
Yeah.
Oh, Fehoko is actually a guy. Brendan Fehoko is a player.
Who are you saying?
I had his sister. I had his sister in Iwakuni.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, what?
Right. See how far the rabbit hole down we're going? See?
He's getting Fehoko his sister?
No, I had his sister. Not him.
Jesus.
He wasn't invited.
Ugh. Brutal, man. Brutal. So, like I said, if it was a quality corner out there, I maybe kick the tires on that or give Jasir Taylor some run. I think he'll likely get some here and there in spot duty because, Bryce Callahan is your slot guy. You don't play him anywhere but there. That's what he does. That's what his niche is.
You leave Bryce Callahan alone, though.
He is.
He is so good.
Yeah, he's a slot. Yes, Cap, he's a slot guy. He only likes slots.
He plugs some holes.
Yeah.
I'm on it today, baby.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were making a senior citizen comment.
Well, that too. Yeah. Good double entendre. Double entendre there. But I mean, I kick the tires on the corner if it's right at the right price. I would say definitely receiver, and outside of that, man, receiver is the keys to the car, man. It really is.
Denied, BC. You're staying. You can never leave now.
You're in the matrix.
Ryan, we do not accept your resignation.
Yeah, you're plugged into the matrix now. You're done.
You fought for this role. You'll keep it.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, from the injury report, we're gonna get some guys back. We got a surplus at running back, even with Josh Kelley going out. Receivers are the most glaring thing. I think that's the only thing. An edge rusher, but we picked up a guy that we used to have, and actually a former Bronco as well, Jerry Itachu. We picked him back
too.
Yeah, speed. He's speedy guy. Because we drafted him. Actually, he played 4 years here, and then you guys picked him up for a couple of years, and then he bounced around for a couple of years. Now he's back. So
that's way too much material, and I didn't even pick up on any of it. Okay, picked him up, bounced around. I just said, nah, it's too easy. It's too easy.
We had him, you had him. Yeah.
Well, Captain, in fairness, there's only one of him, and there's two of what you're thinking about. So.
You get an edge rusher. You get an edge rusher. You get an edge rusher. That's how it goes. Yeah, man. But we'll see what he can do as far as being. I think him and Van Noy are going to be on the other edge with Khalil Mack until Joey comes back, which is likely December. For people wondering, Joey's probably not going to be back till December. Mike is going to be done for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm leaning towards 4 to 5. Strong kid, and I think he heals well. And never really been a big person. A person that's been big on injuries and long durations of them. So I think he'll bounce back from his high ankle sprain. But high ankle sprain is always tricky. So we have to play our cards right with that. But just getting some speed to wide receiver, I think that'll solve a lot of our problems. To be quite honest with you, with Josh Palmer will come back healthy after the bye. So hopefully Keenan will come back as well. Somebody that can run a decent 40 time and can stretch the field in the slot. I would love that aspect of it. And
slot, baby, you need to do that.
You got to fill a slot, man. If you don't fill a slot, you're doing it wrong. That's all I'm saying. If you don't fill the slot, you're doing it wrong. So yeah. It's just a matter of what Tom Telescope's mind is and how they feel about the season. Do they feel like they can make it work and salvage the season with what they have, or do they feel like they got to make a splash? If that's the case, then we'll be aggressive. We got 4 or 5 days to do it. If not, we just have to work with what we have. Stress the slot. I like it. Hey, if you ain't stressing out, you're doing it wrong too. So yeah. Overall, man, I think if we get healthy, You know, it's just really that, and being more inventive in the play calling, and don't give up on the run game. You know, and tell Brandon Staley to call me if he wants tips on alignment. Damn it, you know, because I'm sick and tired of us playing over and under fronts. We should be playing eagle and bear. You know, but you know that's a little football talk for you nerds out there like me that love football. But you know, tired of seeing 2 high safeties when we should have 8-man boxes against the run. Outside of that.
If you have 8 in the box, you got a problem there as well.
8 in the box is a big problem, Cap. I don't know. They say 3's a crowd. Dad, 8 is what? I don't know what 8 is.
8 is a bad porno movie with midgets, man.
I think that's a brothel.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the hub going wrong there.
And I gotta do another show in a couple minutes, and I'm crying, man. Jesus.
Well, I'm sure there's an audience for that, but not here. But anyways,
yes, but 8 in the box is a problem. Yes,
8 is a convention.
Coach, there's actually been some questions in the chat. If you don't pick up a corner,
yes,
and with your injuries in the back end of your defense, what do you think is going to end up happening to the Chargers? Do you think you guys can recover? Do you think you guys like what? You're clearly thin there in the in the backfield.
Well, thin in the backfield. That's another problem. If you're thin in the backfield, that's a whole other problem you get. Oh man! Whoa! Woo! Yeah. I would say, Rich, we have depth. We have depth. We just unproven depth. You just have to see what you have in these guys. And from a schematic standpoint, I'm sick and tired of Brandon Staley playing. He has press corners in his building, and he refuses to step up and with wide receivers' faces. You know, playing a lot of off coverage, playing a lot of zone. When you have true press man corners, you know, until J.C. Jackson went out, you had one of the best press man corners in the league, and you refused to play him in press man coverage. The times you did, he did well. When you have him playing zone and playing off coverage a lot, it didn't work out as well. And I think that, and I look back at some film, that's what Bill did. Bill legit let JC play a lot of press man, and that's what he's good at. So, you know, if you did more of that, and I think Asante's equipped to do that, as well as Bryce Callahan, because he's a slot guy. So he knows he knows exactly how to play press man coverage. So get on people's faces, delay the routes getting open by playing press man, and allow your pass rush to get home. You know, but if you're playing off coverage, I'm just nickel and diming you down the field, the pass rush will never get there because they don't have enough time to get there. So that's what I would say. Either give the guys a chance that's in the building, or make a splash and go get a corner. That's my take on it.
Captain, before I know you have to get going, I'm going to bring in our looking ahead now to next week for the Raiders. We have the Saints. Now, I want to get your take on what you guys need to do in order to win that game. We did have a 3-point stance lined up to give the take against the Saints versus the Raiders. Sadly, the timing was a little off in terms of us being able to bring the guest on. But Captain, before you go, I do want you to provide your wisdom to your fans and all of the Raiders folks that are here with us. What do you think?
Yeah. Am I on now? And that's what she said, right?
You're on one tonight, I'm telling you, boy. Somebody put some water on him because he's on fire.
Yeah. Well, some words that have come out, man. You guys are killing me, man. It's going to be, first off, winning in Nolans, and that is the correct pronunciation. It's not New Orleans. Okay, it's Nolans, baby. Nolans. Winning the Nolans is tough, no matter how bad the team is. Okay, even when the fans were wearing the paper bags, it was always a rough place to go as far as to getting a win. So it's not a cakewalk, but the one thing I can say is we have found out today that Dennis Allen said that the red rifle is going to be the quarterback. Apparently, Winston has not come back yet. So that's good and bad. That's good and bad. Jack, I'll talk about the Hankins trade probably on the show tomorrow as well, because I don't think we have time right now. But, you run the ball like we have been running the ball. The running is setting up the pass. Carr had like 200 and something yards. He had one of his best statistical days with Jacobs having his best day ever. Jacobs is the first Raider player to ever have 143 straight games. And that was a record that I didn't even know that he had passed Marcus on that.
You have to pay the man.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. As I said before, one of the reasons why they didn't pay him is they want to see him last the whole season and remember, there's still 11 games left. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will see if we can get the thing. Granted, he's playing for a contract, and if he wants to stay, I'm sure the Raiders will figure out a way to keep him. It's going to be up to Josh, and Josh is a true Raider, but I know of another Raider that kind of got pissed off and ended up going to the Chiefs, and he had a decent career. And it's just a matter of where you want to play and for how much. So they will pay him, and I think that they will give him a contract offer, but it just depends on if he can go through the season pretty much unscathed. And as of now, yes, but that hasn't happened for all these years. He's always gotten a little bit of a ding. So run the ball, and the Raiders have still had problems in stopping the run. I mean, the kid from Florida, Dameon Pierce, just kept running and running and running in the first half. I think in the first half he was averaging close to 10 yards a carry. At least that's what it seemed like. Yep. In the second half, they had him under lockdown a little bit more. He still averaged like 4.7. Thank you. I knew I was close. Thank you there, shipmate. So they had him tied down. There's another one. They had him tied down in the second half a bit. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But he still was averaging 5 yards a carry. And you can't win normally when the running back is averaging close to 5 yards a carry. You got to be able to stop the run. And Alvin Kamara is a proven running back, and he can both run and catch the ball. So that's two things you're going to have to worry about. Okay. Dalton is a better quarterback than the kid Davis that the Texans threw out there last week. And if you had Andy Dalton with the Texans offense, I'm sure they would have scored more points, because Davis was not good in the second half. He was overthrowing and underthrowing a lot of the receivers. Granted, the Raiders defense was up for that. So it's a continuation of the Raiders doing what is working for them. Run the ball and let the defense show up with big plays when they need to. The defense has got to play better. And quick version of Hankins. Hankins was a decent run stopper on a 1-year contract. He was not going to be playing into the hands of the Raiders next year. So they traded him to a team that was that needed a stopgap, almost literally, in what Hankins would provide. And he ended up getting a 6th rounder by trading a 7 in Hankins. So they got commodity for him. And playing time has been going down because the young rookies are playing more, plus Vickers and plus Farrell. So they got some decent acquisition for him. So that's the quick thing on Hankins going to the Cowboys. If the Raiders continue to play the game that they have been playing the last couple of weeks, they played a great game against the Chiefs and kind of petered out at the end. Petered out, there you go, at the end. And then, of course, coming after the bye, they played a fantastic game against the Texans. I can see a victory, but you have to do everything there. Now, obviously, the Saints are not as talented as they have been. I mean, obviously, you don't have Drew Brees. You don't have what's his nose at coach. You got Dennis Allen with his red friggin' marker. You have his red. You have the red Dennis Allen and his red Sharpie behind that friggin' visor, and we all know about that as Raider fans. So he's not the sharpest pencil in the pencil box, but and he's not an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. So you need to make sure that the Raiders continue what has been working on offense. You still need to get better on defense. It's a winnable game against a team that is not having all of the players at their disposal. That's my quick version. I mean, I know I was more Raiders heavy on what we need to do to win by what they need to do to win, and I apologize for that.
No, that's fair enough. So I just want to thank you for your feedback there. I know you have NFL Nation Live to jump over to. After our show, guys, please go ahead and check over at NFL Nation Live with Captain Jack and Ref Guru, as well as Violator over.
And at 11 o'clock Eastern, a interview with Daryl Hobbs. He's going to be talking about the Spring Football League. He is a former Raiders wide receiver, talking about the the American Spring Football League, ASFL. Join me for that interview. It's a special interview that I'm even staying up for. It's 11 p.m. Eastern on my channel.
Well, thank you, Captain. I appreciate it. If you have any questions for Captain, go ahead and leave them in the comments about what the Saints and Raiders game, your questions, comments, and any other feedback. Leave that below in the comments. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And we will do our very best. If there's anything we don't know, we'll be able to get it for you. Thank you very much.
I'm not touching the red button. I'm not touching the red button.
Fantastic. Well, Captain, you made it all the way to the back end of the show. Thank you very much.
I got you there. I heard it.
It's a shame you cut it short, but we're in the last 3 seconds here.
No,
at the show, and you got to get going.
Never said that. She's never said that to me.
Just don't leave out the back door.
Yeah. But you can come through the back door. You just can't leave. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you.
Take care.
Remember, hit up the show. Don't leave anywhere. These guys are still going to entertain you. Come on over when you're done.
Appreciate it. So that's the Raiders Saints game, guys. It's going to be, I think that's going to be a really interesting game because the Saints never really disappoint. And I think one of the interesting pieces there with the Saints is the fact that they always prioritize their lines. And you look at the way that the Saints teams are built, it's offensive line, defensive line, and it seems to be one of the major reasons why they're always in every single season. Frankly, I think other teams in the NFL could take some notes, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Outside of the Trevor Penning pick, I think they've been solid by drafting O-linemen that you really don't know hit, and they just grab them and they be Pro Bowlers.
100%.
Eric McCoy, even Armstead before he left.
Yeah,
Ramczyk. Yeah. So these guys didn't have world beating careers in college, but guess what? They're Pro Bowlers now in the Saints organization. So
my thing too is the Saints, for all the weapons they've had hurt, I feel like are still pretty efficient at passing the ball. And I mean, to me, that's the weakest part of the Raiders is their secondary. So I think it'll be interesting to see like what Olave does, because I mean, even Bills, I think, still had 300 yards passing on him for being a subpar QB. Granted, I mean, I didn't watch the game, so it could have been like garbage time getting some stats at the end. But you would think that a more competent QB with receivers, if Michael Thomas is back and Olave, might be able to do some more damage than Davis Mills would.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I know Olave's been killing.
Olave in like all 5 of my fantasy leagues. So really,
Smart man. And I think Jarvis Landry has an outside chance to play in that game. So I think Michael Thomas can still be out. But I mean, having Landry on one side and having Olave on the other side makes Olave's I guess you can say his value even sweeter.
Yeah. And I'd say, I mean, if Jameis is playing, I'd say this is a Raiders win for sure because he's 4 picks.
Yeah, Age Water Pistol is playing quarterback, so we will see exactly.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, GA. I mean, the Raiders have been killing it running the ball, so
yeah, they have.
If they could just keep doing that.
Yeah, now I didn't get a chance to ask Cap, but I'm thinking like this: the way Jacobs is running the ball, if you had any inkling on trading him for something sweet, I would do it now.
Yeah,
speaking against Zamir White, still, Zamir White's still healthy and he's good. So I would say
at the very end of like this 12-man league, because I was like, McDaniel, he's like got a track record for using multiple RBs. Right. So I'm like, surely they're going to use this guy. I think he's had like 4 carries all year.
Exactly. Yeah. I sold high on Pacheco. Pacheco hadn't gotten the ball good yet, so I'm still waiting on that.
Yeah, then they announced him as the starter like hours before the game, but then
I
offense that doesn't really mean anything.
I didn't have the guts to start him, and I was right because he didn't play well. So
they're talking about the Chiefs getting Kareem Hunt again, and I'm like, I just like
no.
I mean, they're not gonna. They don't use him. Like, if he never left though.
Oh my God, yeah. That's a problem.
Yeah, so I could see them going after him again.
I mean, I think so. By the reasons why they let him go in the first place.
Why not? It's been long enough.
Got pressure to do that.
It's out of sight, out of mind, right? So I could totally see it.
It was a really unfair circumstance how that.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It was definitely
so much public pressure to get rid of him, but then immediately the Browns signed him, and everyone's like, "Good for the Browns, give him a second chance." Like I can respect that. And I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's like the other rumor I've read, but one I didn't really want to talk about because I didn't want to bring it to fruition. Because that's like to me, that's the last thing they need to do is add to the offense, but.
Right, so I'm going to go into the Broncos Jags game, going over the pond, and just to make sure that I don't let everyone down here. Apparently, Russell Wilson was in fact on the plane to going to London, and when everyone else was asleep, he decided to just run up and down the aisle doing stretches, according to everybody.
Yeah, like why did he say that?
Wolverine blood and all. Apparently, that's what you do when you have a hamstring injury because why would you want to get healthy? So with regards to the Broncos game, we are going to go in to play the Jags. The Jags have really shown that they are a bit of a hot and cold team. They've had some really hot flashes, if you will, where they've really put out a good product on the football field. And then they've had other games where they've just simply fell a little short. Fell a little short of the win, and they've been close contenders, but not really being able to kind of go across the finish line when they really needed to. So with that in mind, I'm gonna bring in JK3 of Down by the Bay podcast. He was fantastic and has been a great guest for us to give his take on what the Jags need to do to beat my Denver Broncos. JK3, let's see what you got to say.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is JK3 with Down by the Bank. You can find us on Twitter at Down by the Bank Podcast. We are a Jacksonville Jaguars podcast here, and I'm here with my 3 takeaways for what the Jaguars may need to do across the pond this weekend against the Denver Broncos to get the W. First of all, both teams are in similar spots right now within 2-5, and both teams do have their ups and downs and things that they could have done or should have done to be in a favorable 1 or 2 more in the win column. For the Jaguars, I would say number 1 is going to continue to do the small things to lead to the right victories. The Jaguars are right now 2-5, and that 2-5 is a little I would say underwhelming for sure, but not surprising considering it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's been a lot of things that we've done in the fourth quarter that has led to us losing. We could have little small things as far as some of the lack of veteran leadership, penalties on big third downs that are converting. So I would say that my number 1 thing too is keep it clean in the fourth quarter for the Jags. Overall, the offense is playing very efficiently and going through Trevor Lawrence, and now the new RB1 Travis Etienne should get a lot of carries as well, since we did trade James Robinson to the Jets for a 6th round, but could turn into a conditional 5th round pick. So I would say if the offense can continue and the defense can continue to keep the fourth quarter clean, I think they should be able to walk away with the victory there in London. My second thing that we'll have to do, I think that this defense, I think we have to watch out for Denver's defense. Again, this is going to be a defense that's kind of predicated on pass defense, and they get after the quarterback as well. So we'll have to definitely know where Kareem Jackson is. We're going to know where Pat Surtain the second is, and we also really just need to Focus on making some clean passes and really get open underneath those guys and let the athletes make a play. And my third takeaway, I think, is just, London for us, we've been there before. Denver is, going to London, I believe, maybe for the first, maybe second time. I'm not sure. I will lie to you guys on that. But, we've been to London, several times. Our record in London right now is 3-4. So we're used to the pageantry. We're used to, all of the things as far as the time changes and things like that and, the differences of the areas. So we want the pageantry to play in our advantage and let Denver go over and see some of the guys doing some of the tour bus tours and things like that. We want them to enjoy the game and enjoy the sightseeing at London, and hopefully 9:30 a.m. EST kickoff. We're ready to play football. So my three biggest things again, keeping it clean in the fourth quarter, for the Jaguars, staying away from that sticky Broncos defense, and again letting the Broncos enjoy their tea and crumpets and the once in a lifetime trip for them, as it's another business trip for us Jaguars going across the pond in London. Again, this is JK3 with Down by the Bank. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can follow me on Twitter at JK3. Thanks, and let's go Jags.
Interesting.
Rock, man. Still vibes.
Yes,
Interesting. I think that there's first off, in my opinion, if you're banking on the fact that you've just been to London before and that's what you're gonna lean on to win, I think that's a tough go if that's what you're banking on. But I mean, I think it will play a bit of a role, especially if the Broncos are a bunch of young players.
Oh, Jacob's comment. That's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Jacob, I disagree. And the only reason I disagree is because the real answer is 17.
Okay.
Score double digits. Should be fine.
No, 17. As long as you score 17 points, you'll likely win.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The Broncos have kept opponents under, I think it's like 15 or 16 points this year as a defensive average, which is, I mean, the sad part about this is that the Broncos defense this year is
killing it.
Absolutely killing it. Like it's actually to a point where it's almost, it's so sad because you're almost wasting a defense that's putting up, I don't want to say historic numbers, but pretty close.
Yeah. For as much as the offense hasn't scored, the games are always close.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an overall testament to how good the defense is.
Like
Indeed.
16-9, we've lost by a couple times where it's been plus or minus a point of that type of score. And if you can keep an opponent to under 17 points and still lose, you are spectacularly failing on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And the Broncos have done that almost every single game. So I think that the defense
Broncos are fourth-ranked defense. Look at Pro Football Reference, but in terms of their, they're killing it for how much they're on the field too.
Yeah, that's
actually
remarkable.
I think your last comment there, Alex, is 100%. So, one, they've kept all of the opponents, with the exception of the Raiders game, really there to under that threshold.
Yeah,
and above and beyond that, they've still lost the game, and yet they're always on the field. So the fact they've been able to sustain those types of things is just honestly, I think our defensive coordinator Evero will likely start getting some head coaching attention. And we're going to be honest,
we already got it.
He deserves it, man. Like he absolutely deserves it given his performance on the field. But with regards to what we need to do against the Jags, I think the Denver Broncos need to continue to do what we have been doing on the defensive side of the ball, kind of leave what's working alone. And I think we'll do just fine. What our main focus needs to be on the offensive side of the ball. And And what we need to start doing is we need to start giving our offense quick passes to get into fast rhythms and get the opponent's defense kind of off their game and to start trying to compensate for the offensive side of the ball. The sad thing is that we actually do have some offensive playmakers on the Denver Broncos. We're just not using them properly. And in addition to that, I also think the Denver Broncos need to finally make a change at the offensive center position. I'm sick and tired of seeing Lloyd Cushenberry land on his ass. It started to get, I'm just getting so pissed off.
Back end blown out, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
good one. That was a good one.
I mean, the double hopscotch is not a good look as an offensive lineman at the center position.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, and look, I feel bad for the guy because he, by all accounts, he's actually a really good dude, and he's actually a very intelligent young man. The problem is that in order to play the offensive center at the NFL level, you need to have a physical quality because you're going against much larger guys. You know, you're going against the nose tackles, the D tackles, and
it's not fun
to have the strength.
No, not at all.
I played center, man. It's not fun at all.
No,
especially a 3-man front because you just get rammed like immediately.
There's a back end comment in there somewhere, but yeah. But I mean, when you're looking at your most critical positions on the line, the offensive center is often that guy that aligns your offense or alerts your quarterback or shifts protection and kind of works in tandem with the quarterback. And I think Cushenberry is good at doing those sorts of things because he's an intelligent guy. But the problem is that if you align things in a certain way, but then you can't actually perform your job, it's kind of all for naught.
Mm-hmm. It's only half the battle.
Yeah, and so you're basically losing the other half of what your job is, and that I think is where a big issue with the offensive center position is. And I also think the reason why we're hearing a lot about Hackett and the fact that if he doesn't win this game, there's some legitimate talk about him basically being sent home after the plane ride. And
will he be allowed to ride the plane?
I think they might at least let him do that, but he'll be the back end.
Do him dirty like Herm Edwards. Do it right on the field.
Yo, that was foul. That was foul. What he did, Herm was so foul.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they'll just take his passport and leave him in bloody old England.
all your belongings will be on the curbside of the facility.
There you go.
That's exactly it. And it's sad because when you actually look at what Hackett has done with the offensive scheme, there's plenty of open receivers, and it's actually not a bad offensive scheme in truth. But the problem is that you're not meshing the scheme to what your quarterbacks need in order to get the game rolling. And I also think you're seeing a bit of a repeat of almost what we saw in Green Bay, which is Aaron Rodgers is a wicked smart quarterback, and he was able to capitalize on a similar system in Green Bay and do really well in the regular season. And note the regular season part of my comment. Yeah. When you get into the postseason, you need to start running the ball better. You need to start working down the field more methodically. You can't just always rely on these big plays down the field to win you games. You can't. And in my opinion, that's what the challenge is with the Hackett system, is that you're looking for the long bomb. You're looking for the quick win. You're looking for that 30-yard chunk play that is not going to work in the postseason or against tough teams or in close matchups. And right now, the Broncos have not gotten themselves into a rhythm in order to, overcome those types of weaknesses. We also need to have quick plays because our offensive line is not blocking particularly well. Our left guard has struggled and our offensive guard has struggled. I will say that the right guard issues we had at the beginning of the season, which was in fact a major issue for the Denver Broncos, Quinn Miners has now finally come back, and he is looking solid. He is, when you watched him the last 2 games and you actually focused on what he was doing, he is easily the best offensive lineman on the field, and I don't even think it's close.
You would know better than us.
No, I mean, even objectively watching, I mean, I don't get to see all of the game, but when they put him on red zone and stuff, I usually always pay attention to the lineman, and you can tell he's definitely a step above everyone else in terms of the interior guys.
Right. He's a big, strong guy. He's able to anchor his
He's a D3 guy too, so that's how you know he's a baller.
What?
He's a Division III guy.
Well, no, he's a D3 guy that's looking like he was drafted in the top 2 or 3 rounds of the NFL draft, right? Yeah, exactly.
As we were talking about Trevor Penning, I bet you go look at Quinn Miner's college film, and it's all very technically sound, and he probably also obliterates fools.
Right.
Well, there's a reason why he was one of the only D3 guys invited to the combine.
Yeah, I mean, you think of the last D3 lineman I could think of was at Marpet in Tampa Bay, and I mean, he was pretty successful. So I mean, if you're at that level and can make it to getting that recognition, you got to be pretty. Well, he did go to Whitewater though; they win the title every year.
But it also could be one of those situations where they started off at D1, they got picked up at D1, and they got in trouble. And then they got demoted to D2. Yeah, and so they stayed
from
there.
Wisconsin though.
Well,
and because I had a buddy that played D3 in Wisconsin, and he said people in Wisconsin are weird because they only want to play for the Badgers, and if not, they'll go to one of these D3s, and that's why they're all good because they have dudes that probably don't want to leave Wisconsin. Yeah, and they just want to play for the Badgers, but if the Badgers don't give them an offer, they probably could go play D1 AA somewhere else, but they'll just go to Whitewater because it's in Wisconsin.
Oh, there it is.
Dang, dude, that's wild.
It is. Well, from 1 to 3, just because you want to stay in the state, that's wild.
Yeah, you want to stay in the state, but you're better than what the state really has to offer. Yeah. So it's kind of like
Wisconsin. I mean, they only have Wisconsin, and then I don't think there's D1 AA school that has football or D2 even. So it's kind of like that, and a lot of those D3s are in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So in my opinion, we have a handful. We have a few keys on the Broncos. There was a great kind of insider in the Broncos that kind of posted on Twitter, and he asked, who are your guys on the Broncos offense or just in general that you would want to keep? I ignored all the defensive players because, frankly, I think they're all playing quite well, including Mathis, who struggled in one of the other games, but then he really showed out in the last few games he's played in. After that, and frankly, he had a short memory even in the game where he got penalized and made some amazing plays. So it's hard to truly fault his play, especially when I saw Sauce Gardner in the Jets game that we had this past weekend, who even on the last play, the only thing you saw is his hand in our guy's jersey, and they never bother calling anything. I have a hard time, faulting Mathis for just being on the wrong end of some of those plays when some of his holding penalties in the game prior were less egregious than Sauce Gardner's, but, I guess as a first-round pick, you just kind of, holding doesn't exist for you.
Let you slide.
Yeah. Holding, no, you're the new face of the league.
Right.
And it's one of those problems, right? But I think what the Broncos need to start doing is opening up short passes. I think we need to start having a better commitment to the run game. We need to start getting, we need to start realizing that 5 and 6 yards of play is not a bad thing.
It's pretty nice.
No, that's exactly my point, right?
It's pretty on schedule. I think that's pretty on schedule.
No, but when you look at the Broncos offense, they seem to always want to go for the 5 and 10, 15 yards down the field. And 5-6 yards ain't a bad deal. Just go for it, man.
Yeah. That's what I've noticed with them too. And, I don't get to watch the full extent of the game, but I mean, obviously going into the season, you talked about them being an outside zone scheme and emphasizing that. Yeah. Thank God you did.
Jennifer, I thank you for joining in late. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For her, yes.
Okay. Probably a good thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, watch the replay at your own risk.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
You likely don't want to rewind. Just keep watching from this point forward.
Right. And you see Captain Jack in the stream, keep fast forwarding.
Yeah. I had nothing to do with it either. So,
oh, you're innocent. Now you're innocent. Now he's innocent.
But what I was saying is, it just doesn't seem like they make a big emphasis at the start of the game to solidify the run. And at least when Russ was out there, and Russ's kind of game in general is to play off of that and boot off of the run. And then it was just like they would just jump right to that without kind of hitting the first step. They just jumped to step B and C. And I feel like that if they made more of an emphasis at the beginning to get the ball rolling, I mean, you got two, I guess now, competent running backs. They should be able to do that. But that was kind of as an outsider watching them. I just feel like they, in line with what you said, they just don't make a large emphasis to run, especially for the kind of passing game they do. All right. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Talk them out. Nice. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about now. I mean, we're on the Broncos. Right. I got to buy. You got to buy.
Oh, I know. You left the two buy guys on the.
Sorry, guys. I had to quickly open the door there for the dog. But we're running really, really late. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, guys. That was our general take on everything. The Broncos are going to face the Jags. I do think it's going to be a challenge. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on the Wild West podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, the West Side is the best side, and we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Wiki Wild.